St. Holloway Church had survived wars, fires, and time itself. On Sunday evenings, it stood almost empty. Only a handful of believers attended the late Mass. Father. Andrew noticed something strange from his very first week. The confession booth light was always on after sunset, even when no one entered. That Sunday night, as rain tapped against stained glass windows, Father Andrew felt a deep unease settle into his chest. The air inside the church felt heavier than usual, as if the walls were listening. At exactly 8:47 p.m., the bell inside the confession booth rang. Father Andrew hesitated, but entered. On the other side, a voice whispered softly, trembling. The confession began with sins that felt too old, confessions of betrayal, murder, and arson from decades ago. The voice sobbed, then suddenly stopped. When Father Andrew asked for the penitent's name, the voice replied, "I died before forgiveness was given." The booth went silent. Disturbed, Father Andrew searched the church archives. He discovered records from 1963, a fire that killed 7 people during Sunday Mass. One of them was the former priest, burned alive inside the confession booth while hearing a final confession. Witnesses claimed screams came from the booth long after the fire ended. Father Andrew realized the voice he heard belonged to a man who never finished confessing. The following Sunday, the booth bell rang again. This time, the voice screamed in pain. The booth walls grew hot, and smoke filled the narrow space. The voice begged for absolution, repeating the same sins. Father Andrew completed the confession, granting forgiveness with shaking hands. As he spoke the final words, the booth door burst open, empty, cold, and silent. After that night, the confession booth light never turned on again. The church sealed the booth permanently, but every Sunday evening, faint burn marks appear on the floor. Father Andrew resigned months later. He still wakes up at 8:47 p.m. every Sunday, smelling smoke and hearing a bell ring once. Story 2. The choir that sang without voices. Grace was hired to restore old church organs. St. Cecilia's church was abandoned, except on Sunday nights when caretakers reported strange singing. As Grace climbed into the choir loft, she noticed hymn books neatly placed as if waiting. The air was icy, though it was summer outside. Her recorder picked up faint humming, soft, layered, human. At midnight, the organ played by itself. Keys pressed down slowly, painfully. Then singing began, dozens of voices, all whispering the same hymn. Grace could see no one, yet shadows filled the pews below. When she shouted, the singing stopped instantly. Grace researched the church history. In 1948, the choir loft collapsed during a Sunday rehearsal, killing all 12 singers. Locals claimed the choir never stopped practicing. Every Sunday night, the hymn they died singing returned. The next Sunday, Grace returned with a camera. At exactly 12:03 a.m., the singing resumed, louder, desperate. A cold hand touched her shoulder. A voice whispered, "We need one more." The organ keys bled dark stains as the choir demanded harmony. Grace escaped, but her recordings contained one extra voice, hers. She never sang again. To this day, caretakers say the choir sounds complete now. 13 voices, always on Sunday nights. Story 3. The church that refused to close. Old St. Matthew's Church was scheduled for demolition. On the final Sunday, the doors were locked permanently. That night, security guard Thomas heard church bells ringing. Cameras showed lights turning on inside, though electricity had been cut. Thomas entered the church to investigate. Inside, pews were filled with shadowy figures sitting perfectly still. The altar candles lit themselves. A priest stood at the pulpit, face burned beyond recognition, beginning Sunday service. The Mass repeated the same sermon endlessly. "We are not finished," the priest said again and again. Thomas realized this was the final service from 1912, when the entire congregation died from poison gas during Mass. The burned priest turned to Thomas. "You arrived on time," he said. The congregation stood together, every face turned toward him, empty eyes, open mouths. Thomas ran, but the doors vanished. Police found the church empty Monday morning. No signs of Thomas, but church records show a new name added to the final service attendance list. Every Sunday night, the bells still ring, waiting for the next guest.